Another very important part of keeping rabbits healthy and fit and well is one of diet. Now, I know whole books have been written on the subject, but basically you need to avoid the muesli type dry food and opt for the pellet type food, which contains all they need in every mouthful. There's several different brands, but go for one that is a very good quality one. So it means the rabbit basically can't pick and choose as they can with the muesli types, where they pick out all the split peas, which are very high in fats, and leave all the pellets which contain all the minerals that are actually good for them. So it's very important. But with all change of diet with bunnies, always do it gradually over perhaps a week to 2 weeks, where you slowly introduce the new food and slowly phase out the old ones. You're mixing the two for a little while. Vegetables are very important also for rabbits, but again, don't suddenly throw in a big wad of different veg, otherwise your bunny will probably get a dirty bottom. So always introduce these very slowly. I tend to start with celery and then slowly introduce a little bit of spring green, and then after a little while a bit of broccoli, that kind of thing. I avoid apple, in fact I avoid all fruits. Some people feed fruit to rabbits with no problems, but I find that often they develop problems with their tummies with fruits, especially apples. So I tend to avoid that completely. And carrot, we just give a very small amount of carrot, very high in sugar, and not the best veg at all. So celery, spring green, broccoli, all that is absolutely fine. Kale is okay, but in small quantities. It's got high calcium, so you need to be a bit careful on that. I'm going back again to the dry food briefly. A lot of people will overfeed with the dry food. They think filling a bowl is fine. They actually need, when they're fully grown, they need very little dry food. And if you give them too much, you end up with an obese rabbit who ends up with a dirty bottom, and of course that means fly strike and all sorts of associated problems. I know it's very tempting to give rabbits treats. Some people like to give them bits of crisps or sweets or biscuits or whatever. It is really best to avoid that and try and stick as close as you can to what a rabbit would normally find if it was out in the wild, and they're not going to find many crisps and biscuits there. So do try and avoid that. Even toast isn't a good idea. It's obviously bread has yeast in it, and it's not something rabbits normally find. Again, if you give a small amount and they're fine with it, well, that's no problem, but really do keep it to a very, very tiny amount. Hay is extremely important with bunnies, and you should have a good pile of fresh hay every day. And of course water, either in a water bottle or a bowl. Water bottles are better, they can't tip those over or mess in them, so you are best with a water bottle. But bear in mind in the winter they can freeze, so you've got to keep an eye on that.